Hi guys, Les from FutureFX again. Just taking you through the all the settings for cost averager. Okay, we've had a lot of really great updates to the software recently. So I'm going to go through all of the settings right from scratch. So this will be the only video you need at the moment for the settings. Okay guys, this is the prop account that I'm using cost averager on. It's also the one that I'm using to mirror trades across to those that are involved in our mirror trading. Um, just ignore that. I don't normally trade Ripple, but I was just having a little play here because it's a weekend and that's the only one that sort of lined up to do it. And I've made 13 cents this morning. But anyway, no, this is just my prop account, as I said, and it's with the concept trader. And because I've it started as a $5,000 account and I've doubled it twice this month or in the last month. But now that I'm on my third round, so I made 7% and it doubled and I got my 50% profit split. I made another 7% and the account balance doubled and I got my 50% profit split. And that's where I'm at now. But because I'm on the third round, I'm now on a live account. So the first two rounds are on demo, but now I'm on live. And that is something that most prop firms don't do. They keep you on a demo. So that's one of the main reasons I'm using Concept, because they have a vested interest in me actually succeeding now, because they can make money when I make money. But anyway, getting on to settings, I'm just going to open up the settings here on this one. This is just for US yen, but I'm using the same settings almost on most pairs. So on all the Forex pairs, I'm using exactly the same settings, except down the bottom here, I've got the correlated pairs. Each pair requires me to type in different correlated pairs. So because this is a USD yen pair, I've put in all my other USD and yen pairs into here. And what that will do, it will filter out. If any of these pairs already have trades open, it won't open any trades in US yen. So that's my correlation filter, and it goes a long way to making this a very hands-free software. But other than that, all the other settings are going to be exactly the same for all the Forex pairs. For gold and indices, they're all the same with each other. And the cryptos are going to be all different as well, though. But I generally only trade Bitcoin anyway as a regular thing. But anyway, just going through all the settings one by one. Input license. When you purchase the software, you'll also end up with an activation key. That's what you need to place in here. Now, if I email you the activation key, or if I send it to you on Telegram, most people can just copy it from there and paste it straight into here and it will work fine. Don't know why, but there have been a few people where that doesn't work. And what they actually need to do is copy the key from wherever I sent it to you, and then just come down here into Notebook and paste it into there, and then recopy it from there, and then paste it into the EA. Now, honestly, I have no idea why that works, but that solves the problem if you're having that issue. Daily profit target. Now, this is one of the newish features. It was in the last version as well, though. And one of the reasons that it allows this software to be quite hands-free and automatic as well is that every morning at the start of the market open, it's going to take the account balance, add $80 to it, and that will be my target for the day. So in this case, I've got a $20,000 balance. So my target will be $20,080. And as soon as my equity gets to $20,080, it will close all open trades and it won't open up anymore until the next morning when a new $80 is added to it, and it will start the process again. Now, if you hit your target and you really want to get back in and do some more trading, the idea though is not to, because this keeps you, gives you some good profit for the day, and then keeps you out, away from any extra volatility that may occur and all that. But if you do want to, the only way to do it is to grab the software from here and drag it back onto that chart and add a new daily profit target, and it will start up again. You'll have to re-enter the settings, of course, and all of that. And also be aware when this pair takes out some trades, if it gets into a bit of drawdown, then other pairs that we're trading may drop below their target goal, and they may start trading again as well. So you might, if you want to do that, you might just want to turn off all the pairs and then just selectively allow one or two pairs to trade again by dragging it back on. Input max trades. So I think the default 6, but you can put whatever figure you want in there. All that's going to do is it's never going to open more than 5 trades on any one pair at any one time. Now, sometimes I'll let the software take out more than that. It's rare during the Asian session to ever need more than 5 trades, but sometimes it happens, and I'll adjust it so I can take out more. But most of the time it takes out less than that. Trailing stop loss, the default is 0, not being used, but I do tend to, in some other videos, I'll go through a couple of different strategies that I find work really well with cost averager. Because there are so many settings, there's a lot of different strategies you can customize it to work well with. But for now, it's just a matter of a trailing stop loss. It's like any trailing stop loss, you're going to enter it as a points. So if you want a trailing stop loss 20 pips, you have to enter 200 because it's in points. And you can set which level you want it to start using a trailing stop loss on. So trail start level is 3. So on the first trade and the second trade, it's not going to use a trailing stop loss. But on the third trade and any above, it will use that trailing stop loss feature on. Now we have 3 options to use to determine how far apart we want our trades to be. The default setting is to using the auto trade gap factor. Okay, and 1.4 is the default setting. And generally that's just all I use. So how this works is that it works off an average daily range. Just go a little further. So over here on this chart, it's calculating the average daily range over the last 20 days. So on average, this particular pair moves 313 pips per day. So what it's going to do, it's going to take that figure and it's going to multiply it by 1.4, and that's how many points apart the first and second trade will be. And just while we're on the subject, it's only the average daily range that gets used in the actual EA calculations. The rest is just for your benefit, so you know. So the average is 313, but there was one day where it was double that. And then so far today, it's only moved 49 pips. That's just a good way of knowing how volatile a pair is. And if you're using that auto feature, it's going to adjust the trade distance based off how volatile that pair is. The other options are you can, if you just leave the auto trade gap factor as 0, you can enter your own points. So you can just manually decide you want your trades to start at 200 points apart, for example, and you can put that in there. And this is like an old setting from when I first created the EA, but I've left it in here as an option. And if you don't want to put it in as points, you could put it in as dollars, So if you wanted, and this is going to be based off the actual market value of that instrument. if you want it to be, 2 cents apart each trade, then you'd put in dollars, you'd put in 0.02. That'd be 2 cents. So every 2 cents change in the instrument value. Things like crypto, you might want to put them a couple of $100 apart. So you'd put 200 in as the value. But I generally don't use that anymore. But there is the possibility that some brokers may calculate their pips differently for some reason, and adding it yourself or using the auto trade gap factor may not calculate correctly. And if you do come across those, you've got this option which will always work. And then we have a trade gap multiplier, and this just means if the first two trades are going to be 200 points apart, the second and third one will be 200 multiplied by 1.2. So the second ones will be 220 pips apart. So this is to allow the trades to get progressively further and further apart, which means that the software can, handle larger market movement against you without incurring too much drawdown. And then you can also choose what level you want the trade gap multiplier to start. So, for example, here, you might want the first 2 or 3 trades to be the same distance apart, and then start to get progressively further and further apart. So you can set that there. And then we've got input minimum profit. So this is going to be the profit that each trade or each trade group on one pair is aiming for. And yes, $8 doesn't sound like much, but that's how this software works. Well, there is one strategy I use, which I'll get into in another video, where I use a larger minimum profit. But in general, we're only aiming for fairly small profit compared to the account balance per trade or trade group. So if you opened one trade, when it gets into $8 of profit, it will get closed at that profit. If the market doesn't take that trade into profit and it opens up 2, 3, or 4 trades, then those 2, 3, or 4 trades will be a trade group. And when that group as a net whole gets to $8 profit, it will close out all of those trades and take a net profit of $8. So if it had 4 trades open, 2 would close in profit and 2 would close in a loss, but the net profit would be $8. Input max loss. So this is our equity protection feature, and this just works off that one particular pair. So if the trades on this one particular pair were to reach, negative $500, so if the floating profit, the drawdown of this one particular pair reached $500, they would all get closed out and you would incur a $500 loss. So then that's on this account balance, that equates to 2.5%. Now, I generally, or what I'm doing with this strategy on this particular account is I really never trade. I'm really only trading 2 pairs at any one time. So, and I don't trade correlated pairs, as I mentioned before. So the chances of them both going bad at the same time is fairly small. But with 2 like this, I could potentially take a $1,000 loss, which would be a 5% loss. Now, I find that's fine. That's enough. I know a lot of other softwares similar-ish to this, inferior but similar. It would require you to have an equity protection of a lot more. And I'm talking 20 or 30% to operate, efficiently. So I think this is great. Excuse me. But you can set that as whatever you like, and that will be based off, what lot size you're using, what risk you want to assume, how many pairs you're trading, and all of that. Now, the input magic number, that you don't have to worry about that at all. That's just a number that the software uses to identify its own trades, as opposed to trades off a different EA or a manual trade. You could change that number if you wanted to. It would make 0 difference to how the software operates. Trade comment. All that means is in the comments, it's going to say cost averager. so that you know that cost average you took out that trade. Input volume, this is a lot size that it's going to use. As I said, there's quite a few different strategies, but for me, that's the lot size I'm using on a $20,000 account. And I am also using a volume multiplier. So similar to the trade gap multiplier, but this is going to progressively, if you use it, progressively take out a larger and larger lot size. If you want all the trades to be all the same size, which was originally the only way this software worked, and it was only going to be the only way I wanted to use it. But I thought I'd put the option in here. And as you can see, I'm using this option, but only 1.1. So my trades are only going to be getting a tiny bit larger each time. So the first one will be 1.12, the second one 0.13, 0.14, 0.15 sort of thing. And as I say, I've only do 5 trades. And you can also set what level you want that to start at. So you might want the first 3 trades to be all the same, and then for them to start getting larger. So you have the option to do that. Then we have the max spread allowed. So just a basic spread filter. The default setting is 30, and that will be adequate for almost all pairs. Over here in the market watch column, we've got the exclamation mark. That's the spread column. So this was whatever. At the moment, because the market's closed, the spreads are excessive on some pairs. So you don't want to take much notice of what they say at the moment. But 30 is generally going to be enough for most Forex pairs. Some of the exotic pairs, it may need to have a higher setting. But generally, you just want it to be, let's say, 2 hours after the market opens, if there are no red folder events occurring, whatever the spread is, you just need it to be a little bit higher in the settings. So it's just going to stop the EA taking out any trades when the spread's excessive. So during red folder events, particularly at the start when the market opens for the first sort of hour, the spreads will be excessive. And you don't really want to take out, well, if they're excessive spreads, you definitely don't want to take out any trades, because it sucks all the potential profit out of the trade. And so when you take out a trade because of the spread, you're instantly going to have a lot of drawdown on that trade because of the spread. And then the market's going to have to move a lot further just to break even and then to get into profit. So, you don't want trades occurring when the spread's excessive. And then we have a bit of a time parameters filter. So you got the start hour and start minute for trading. So I've got 1 hour after market open, 1 hour and 0 minutes after market open, the trades can occur. This time here is based off the market watch time, so it's the same for everybody. Don't worry about where your time zone is or anything. And then we've got the end hour and end minutes. So 1 hour and 0 minutes after the market opens, this EA will start trading. 9 hours and 0 minutes after the market open, it's going to stop taking out initial trades. After 9 hours, it won't take out any more initial trades, but if it needs to take out extra trades on that particular pair to cost average into position, then it can still do that. But once it closes that group of trades and it's after 900 hours, then it won't take out any more until the next day. So these are settings that you can just choose yourself, of course. I've got them like this simply so that it's just trading the Asian session. The ADR days, so that's just the average daily range calculation. You can decide how many days you want that to be calculating it from. And I have the close all hour and the close all minute. So it's going to stop taking out initial trades at 0900. And when I'm using this on the fully automated sort of setup, I generally have about 11 hours after market open here. So in this particular case, 9 hours after market open, it's going to stop taking out any more initial trades. and it's going to have 2 hours between 9 and 11 to close out those trades as it normally would and take profit. If it hasn't managed to do that at 11 hours, it's going to close those trades anyway, and you'll take whatever loss that incurs. So this feature will make this software really, really hands-free, but you will regularly take the odd little loss at 11 hours. But trading after that does incur a much greater risk of the market moving further and taking a larger loss. So that's the settings I will have if I'm not monitoring my trading. If I'm around, when most of the time I am around, because that's sort of around, from 9 to 11, that's around dinner time for me personally. So I'm generally around. I can keep an eye on it, and I can just manually, close out any trades at the optimal time. But if not, if I'm out and about or doing something, then I'll just set that there, and that's my default hands-free setting. Just put it back to 0 for now, and you can do minutes, hour and minutes as well. I don't use the minutes terribly often, but they're there. Max pairs. So at the moment, I have this particular trading account set up with cost averager on 15 different pairs, but it's never going to trade more than 2 pairs at once. So it allows me to have the software there on a whole heap of pairs ready, looking for trades. But I know I'm never, I definitely don't want cost averager trading 15 pairs at once, because, that would be huge exposure and a very high risk of buying an account or hitting an equity protection. But setting it with 2, sometimes I'll use 3, but that's basically how I use it. I will mention, though, that with this setting, there is a slight chance, I've seen it happen, that if only one pair has trades open and 2 other pairs want to trade at precisely the same time, it may take out both trades. Okay. And you might end up with 3 pairs trading. So I'm looking into how to avoid that, but it's just a timing thing. It's rare, but it can happen. So just keep that in mind. That's why I don't mind trading 3 pairs, but I keep my setting on 2 just to make sure I don't end up with more than 3, So just keep that in mind. And then I talked about the correlated pairs earlier that you just manually input so that it doesn't open. You don't want to end up, if you're allowing it to trade 3 pairs, you don't want to end up with, let's say, Euro yen, pound yen, and US yen, because they're 3 very closely correlated pairs. And all it would take would be for yen to go against you, and all 3 pairs could get into big drawdown. So that's why we try to avoid trading closely correlated pairs. All right, that's it, guys. As far as the common tab goes, all you really need checked is allow live trading. You don't have, you can check the others as well. It won't matter, but this is the only one you have to have checked. And that is all the settings. I will just quickly go through a couple of other things. We talked about the average daily range, the highest daily range, and the range today. The software also, because it always trades with the trend. And so that's very, very important. And that's why this software can incur, much less drawdown than other cost averaging PAs, because it does require 3 different time frames to have their trends lined up in order for it to even think about trading. If the trends aren't lined up, then the writing here will be red. When they all line up, it doesn't matter if they're 3 sells or 3 buys. Then they'll turn green. So that's just an easy way for you to see out of a whole heap of pairs which ones are sort of right for the picking, so to speak. And just above that in little writing, it says correct time. That is simply because the current time is in here between the start times and the end times. If it's outside of the times you have set here, then it will say not correct time. Remember this setting here, the daily profit target at $80. So at the start of today, the target here said $80. It's a little higher now because I'm just in that little tiny bit of drawdown. But so the target will start at $80 and that will count down as you make profit until the target gets to 0. And that's when in red writing underneath here, it'll come up saying target hit. And then that's going to stop trading for the day. The floating profit or the floating, that is just the current floating value of all the trades you have opened on this particular pair. Okay, so down here on your MT4, you can see the total floating profit or drawdown that you have for all the trades on that trading account. This one here will just be giving you the floating profit for this particular pair. Now, this will only be counting trades that this EA, that cost averager, takes out. If you place a manual trade as well, the floating here won't include that in its calculations. All right, guys, I think that is all the important info as far as cost averager settings go. Obviously, if you're confused on any of those, let me know and ask. Other than that, that should, keep you up to date on what's going on. Have a good day.